support this amazing initiative. So first off, I'm going to start with my story. Ever since I can remember, I've lived with mental illness. It all started back when I was only 6. But back then, we didn't call it. We called it the worries. I worried about everything: getting dressed, eating, bad things happening, what kind of job I'll have, and my friends. Speaking of friends, the worries made it pretty tough to make them. This was really hard for me because I'm a very social person, and it's very important for me to have friends. Back then, I didn't have any. My worries took up all my concentration and energy. Even though I wanted to follow instructions and behave, my worries got in the way. Everyone except my family felt that I was a bad kid, and I got in trouble all the time. It didn't seem like anyone liked me. The other kids, other teachers, even the adults. It didn't seem like, well, my twin brother got invited to birthday parties without me, and it felt like people tried to avoid me. This made me very hurt. Worst of all, the worries made it tough at home, because I often upset my family without knowing why. It was so confusing. I tried so hard to stop worrying, but no matter what I did, or how hard I tried, nothing worked. By grade 3, I was in an awful state. I was tired, I was worried, I was confused, and I couldn't take it anymore. I finally gave up. I didn't want to go to bed anymore, and I just wanted to disappear. I was so tired. I remember one morning, I couldn't get out of bed. My mom called me up to get up, but I couldn't. I was too exhausted. My body felt too heavy, I just couldn't do it. I hadn't yet told my family how bad I had been feeling, but that day, I told my family that I wanted to die. I was lucky that my family recognized the signs of depression, and that my mom and dad realized that I needed medical help. They brought me to the doctor. The details of finding help is a very long and complicated story, one that I now know many families have shared. To get help, I had to go to a lot of appointments and wait a long time between those appointments. My parents explained to me that we were going through the proper channels to eventually see a doctor that could help me. The trouble is, it took over a year before I saw that special doctor. During that year, I had to meet with a bunch of other people and I had to tell all of them my story. This was hard for me and my family to attend these appointments because of how badly I felt and how busy it was for my family. It was also really frustrating waiting so long and having to go to so many appointments, all while I was feeling worse and worse by the day. I was eventually seen by a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with depression, OCD, and anxiety disorder. I was recommended that I receive therapy, take medication, make sure I ate healthy, get enough sleep and exercise. To get the help I needed, my mom and dad had to drive me to see lots of different people in lots of different places. It took a lot of time, and it was really tiring and hard for me and my entire family. So for the last 8 years, this has become part of my life. And it hasn't been easy for me or anybody else in my family. I noticed pretty early on that mental illness isn't something a lot of people talk about, or a lot of people don't seem to know a lot about it. There were kids at my school who were living with medical conditions or disabilities, and the kids and teachers seemed to go out of their way to take care of those kids and be kind to those kids. I noticed that adults seemed uncomfortable, to say the least, talking about my mental illness, and that the kids and adults didn't seem to treat me with patience and care, but seemed to avoid the topic and me in general. When I started asking questions about this, that's when my family taught me what the word stigma means. Stigma, a mark of disgrace. It also ties in with discrimination. It all made perfect sense to me once I learned about the stigma of mental illness. Kids suffering from mental illness, or anyone in that matter, are often treated with less respect and given less support than people living with other medical conditions. This is unfair and awful. I like to use an example that gets people's attention. Think about a little kid living with diabetes. How does that thought make you feel? There's no shame in that, is there? You don't have any bad feelings about them, do you? You don't feel like you want to avoid them? You aren't afraid. You aren't embarrassed or scared to talk to them about their disease. No one would tell this little kid to just get over it or punish them because they can't control their diabetes. This little kid's parents wouldn't try to hide her condition and keep her from seeing a doctor because their parents were embarrassed to seek help. No parent would think that diabetes reflects poorly on their family. And kids wouldn't stop playing with them just because they have diabetes. And parents wouldn't keep helpful medications away because they were too afraid to try. All those things would be ridiculous, right? Then how come many of us treat mental illness like that? The way I see it, a sick kid is a sick kid, and every sick kid deserves the help they need. Here are some interesting facts. 1 in 7 kids will experience mental illness, approximately. So, look 2 people to your right, 2 people to your left. There is probably at least one of your kids suffering from mental illness. Mental illness encompasses a broad range of conditions, including depression, anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, and addiction. Mental disorders in youth are ranked as the second highest hospital care expenditure in Canada. The most common mental disorders in children and youth are anxiety disorders, mood disorders, and eating disorders. Do you know the signs and symptoms of mental illness? Would you know when your kid needs help? And even more important, would you take them to the doctor to seek help? I've heard a lot of adults worried about drugs and alcohol. But did you know that suicide is the second biggest killer of our youth in Canada? Only second to accidents? Canada has the 3rd highest suicide rate in the industrialized world. I wish parents would wake up and start paying attention to their mental illness and start paying attention to their kids' mental health. It is so stupid that parents are so worried about eating right and proper exercise, but they don't take notice to a kid's mental health the same way. I think part of the problem is that parents don't know much about mental illness. They read books and go to classes to be good parents, but they don't recognize the need to learn about their kids' mental health. The statistic that bothers me the most is that only 1 in 5 kids approximately who suffer from mental illness will get the help they need. That's insane. Imagine if only 1 in 5 kids who suffer from diabetes or other illnesses, 1 in 5 got help? That's insane. And it's not okay. I'm determined to help change this. And this is the part where I get to talk about the Foundry and how it's going to be a game changer for kids like me. The Foundry is a new integrated mental health care center for youth and families in Kelowna. The Foundry is going to be a completely different delivery method for delivering mental health care to young people. Over 25 different community service providers, from primary to substance abuse, counseling, and social service for youth aged 12 to 24. These social services will work together with those kids' families to provide a better system for getting help more efficiently and faster for those kids. I'm so excited that this center is about to become a reality. I know how important it is and what a difference it's going to make to the other kids. Instead of having to do what I did, now there will be a place where a kid like me can go and get the help they need right away and a plan to start feeling better. So, now I'm 14 years old. I know that one of the best things that happened to me is when I received my diagnosis, and I finally understood what I was up against. I finally had a plan to help me feel better, and it's working. I'm happier at school, I have friends, I'm way happier at home, and I have a way better relationship with my family. I do all the other stuff that kids do. I go to school, do sports, hang out with friends. But I also have to attend regular therapy, take medication, and use strategies that I've learned to cope with my anxiety and OCD. Many times, every day. I now understand that just like diabetes, mental illness is often a condition that a person like me has to learn to live with. There isn't just a treatment or pill that fixes it forever or completely. I've learned that it's just a medical condition that I have to manage daily in order to stay healthy and live the best life I can. I am thankful that I got the help I need. Every kid deserves the same, and I am determined to make sure that every kid who needs help gets it. I know that the Foundry will help many kids and families in our community. I am so thankful to all of you for being community leaders by supporting this initiative. I promise that you couldn't support a more important fund. Thanks for listening.